Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to our latest explainer. Today we're unpacking a truly fascinating and honestly kind of maddening quirk of human memory that affects literally millions of people around the world every single day. We're looking at a phenomenon known as the bilingual memory trap. So if you've ever felt like your brain is just playing a trick on you right in the middle of a sentence, you're definitely going to want to pay close attention to what we're unpacking today.
Have you ever had a word stuck right on the tip of your tongue, right? You know the exact feeling. It's an incredibly frustrating, almost universal mystery. The word feels so close, dancing right there on the edge of your consciousness, and yet it remains entirely out of reach no matter how hard you try to grab it. You know the starting letter, you know how it sounds, you know exactly what it means, but your brain simply refuses to serve it up to you.
In the cognitive world, we call this a tip-of-the-tongue moment. It's basically the experience of knowing your intended target word, but finding it temporarily impossible to recall. And to be clear, this isn't just you being generally forgetful or losing your train of thought completely. The thought is absolutely there. The intent is there, but the execution, it just fails. This little cognitive glitch is really the starting point of our neurological whodunit today, as we try to figure out exactly why this happens.
But here is where our mystery really deepens. See, this frustrating mental blockage doesn't just happen randomly across the population. It actually targets a specific group of people with a surprising, well-documented frequency. We're looking at the frustrating mystery of the multilingual mind. If you speak more than one language, whether you're completely fluent or you just kind of juggle a couple of different linguistic backgrounds, your brain is actually wired in a way that makes this specific type of memory failure way more common.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core of our mystery. When we compare the monolingual mind, which, only operates in one language and experiences a standard, baseline frequency of these tip-of-the-tongue moments, against the bilingual mind, we see a dramatic shift. Yep, speaking multiple languages actually increases how often you experience these frustrating cognitive blocks.
Which naturally leads us to a fascinating paradox that scientists and linguists have spent a lot of time analyzing. Why do highly fluent speakers suddenly forget everyday words? Think about it logically for a second. You would naturally assume that having more language skills, a broader vocabulary, and a higher level of cognitive flexibility would lead to fewer blocked words, right? Because you have more tools in your mental toolbox. But the data shows the exact opposite reality. So, why does a richer, more complex mind lead to more missing words in a conversation?
Well, the culprit here is a phenomenon known as interfering obstacles. Believe it or not, the very languages that enrich your mind and allow you to communicate across different cultures, they are the prime suspects in this memory trap. Those extra languages you spent years learning aren't just sitting quietly in the background waiting their turn. No, they are actively jumping into the fray.
So the crucial point is exactly how this trap springs. Let's really slow this down and walk through the mechanics. First, you search for your intended target word. Your brain sends out a rapid signal to retrieve it. But because your brain is wired for multiple languages, alternate words suddenly appear to answer the call at the exact same time. And rather than being harmless alternatives that you can just brush aside, these extra words act as solid obstacles in your mental pathway. It is literally a linguistic traffic jam happening in a fraction of a second. To really grasp the severity of this jam, think about how these interfering obstacles work. Imagine you're running a sprint on a track, trying to reach the finish line. That finish line is your target word. These interfering words from other languages, they don't just sit in the bleachers watching you run toward your target. They actively jump right onto the track. They act like physical hurdles thrown directly in your path, aggressively blocking your progress toward the word you want.
Now, I really want to pause here for a second because it is so important to empathize with the intense frustration of this exact moment. You're reaching out for your English target word, let's say apple, but another word, maybe its Spanish equivalent, manzana, has stepped right in front of it and absolutely refuses to move. You have the concept perfectly formed in your mind, but the wrong dictionary opened up and just blocked the exit.
Listen, if this happens to you frequently, please take this away. This is absolutely not a sign of a failing memory. The intended target word definitely exists. Your mental pathway is successfully accessed, but the path simply becomes crowded because you have a highly active, incredibly busy, and complex linguistic network firing all at once. It's basically the natural byproduct of a high-performance engine just doing too much at exactly the same time.
Now, what's really interesting about this conflict is how it creates an intense mental tug-of-war. On one side, you have your single intended destination, the exact word you desperately want to use in that specific context. And on the other side, you have the crowded traffic of your entire vast vocabulary, eagerly, but super unhelpfully, getting in the way. It's this wild internal conflict where your own knowledge literally becomes the hurdle.
And the research validates exactly what you're feeling here, noting specifically that words from different languages act as interfering obstacles, blocking the path to the intended target word. So that feeling of being totally blocked, it's not an illusion. It is a structural, neurological reality of speaking multiple languages. Your brain is essentially suffering from its own incredible efficiency and its vast wealth of cross-cultural knowledge.
Which brings us to our final thought. Is a forgotten word just the price we pay for a multilingual mind? You know, the next time you find yourself stuck, snapping your fingers, searching for a word hovering right there on the tip of your tongue, remember this. It's not a failure of your memory. You aren't forgetting. Your beautifully complex mind is just navigating a little extra traffic. Thanks for exploring the science of the bilingual memory trap with me today.